Welcome back to Steam Deck Performance. This week we're going to tackle a game that I was hoping would come to the Switch with the rest of its franchise, but as of yet, it hasn't. The third game of the Metro post-apocalyptic shooter franchise, let's take a look at the Steam Deck performance of Metro Exodus. Now, before getting started, when you buy Exodus on Steam, you technically get two versions of the game. You get Exodus and Exodus Enhanced Edition. And it's good that these two come together and can't be bought separately, especially for deck users. Reason being, the Steam Deck can't run Enhanced Edition. The game will try to boot, but it'll give you prompts about the system not being compatible with DirectX, and the controls will constantly glitch up, disabling buttons you need to navigate menus, pulling up other menus that can only be navigated via a USB keyboard, and turning the mouse into a constantly moving cursor with controller gyro. All of this makes the game near impossible to even open and get to the title screen for. But thankfully, the normal version of Exodus will boot up and run just fine, so let's take a look at that. You can get high FPS in this game on the deck, but not consistently. And before even going into all the different settings, Ultra and Extreme for graphical options aren't really viable if you want smoothness. Both of those will regularly dip into the 20s. But let's talk about what we can use. Running the game on high settings will get a range of around 49 to 60 when you're inside buildings and other enclosed areas. Some of these will stick mostly around 60, but will drop down to the 50s and 49 every so often. Though once you get to many of the outdoor areas, that won't last. You'll average FPS in the 40s and drop down into the 30s whenever combat happens. So let's drop it down to medium and see if we can get 60 FPS. Unfortunately, that's going to be a no. Enclosed areas are nice with the 50s and 60s, but combat in an outside area will still regular the 40s and dip down into the high 30s. What about low settings? Still a no on 60. Outdoor combat areas will be higher than medium, but you're still going to be in the low 40s. Now the sweet spot here depends on whether 30 FPS matters to you. If you're coming from the Switch community and are fine playing a single player FPS at 30 frames per second on the go, we can get some good results. If you pump the graphical options up to high and use the Steam Deck's 30 FPS limiter, it will stay 30 pretty much forever. I didn't see any dips into the 20s and it will look very good. Not that using high and having the FPS jump around is bad, but a lot of people want stability and the 30 FPS lock will give that to you. That's really all I've got to say for performance. So next up is battery life. This isn't terribly surprising, but we do get a bit more than other games available on the deck, depending on what you use. With the FPS unlocked on medium or high settings, you're going to get about an hour and 45 minutes with the brightness up and a bit closer to 2 hours with the brightness down. But if you got that 30 FPS limiter on, you're going to get about 2 hours with the brightness up and 2.5 with the brightness down. That is a pretty good improvement. Now, as we wrap this up, would I recommend Metro Exodus for Steam Deck users? If you're okay with 30 FPS or a variable frame rate, then I would. You can still make it look great with that 30 FPS lock on with high settings. Just make sure you're okay with not getting a constant 60 before hitting that purchase button. And that's all I've got for you today. I'll be back next week with more Steam Deck performance. As always, thank you for watching and have a great day.